We're fortunate today to have the Honorable Randy McNally, Lieutenant Governor of the state of Tennessee, with us. He was first elected as the 87th Speaker of the Senate and Lieutenant Governor in 2017, and he was most recently reelected in 2021 and is currently serving his third term as Speaker and Lieutenant Governor. McNally is recognized across the state as a finance and budget expert. His leadership has been critical in keeping Tennessee's budget in balance and maintaining the state's AAA rating. He served as the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee for a decade, as well as spent 26 years on the Senate Finance Ways and Means Committee. Legislative leader for 40 years, Lieutenant Governor McNally has been recognized for both his work in the General Assembly and in his community. And here to tell us more about his work with 112th General Assembly is Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally. Please welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm very pleased to be here with you. We all know that government functions best that's closest to the people, and certainly you are the closest to the people. We're one step removed, and then the federal government's a couple of steps removed. But very much appreciate the job that each of you do and the dedication that each of you have. You're really the front line of government service to individuals, and it's a great help, I think, to the state to know that. We still, the question I get when we're in session is, when are you all going to adjourn? And as soon as we adjourn, when are you going back into session? But despite the problems with the snow and everything, we're still slated to adjourn in April. The committees are moving a lot of bills through. I think we have about 50 on consent calendar tonight, in addition to a regular calendar. So there's a lot that have been sort of worked out last year, and then when we had to close and had to limit what we were discussing, and these are most of the bills that are coming through on consent. The governor's proposed budget includes $200 million in infrastructure grants to help local governments and communities to recover from COVID faster. And also there's about 10.7 billion, that will be coming from President Biden's rescue plan. And this will be state, local, and then direct aid, some direct aid to individuals. The state part is 6.3 billion that will go to the state and local government. And we are projected to receive about 3.85 to the directly to the state. Another 1.3 billion goes to counties, and 513 million to metropolitan cities, and 431 million to other non-metropolitan towns and cities. And if you look at the combined aid that the state will receive, this is state, local, as well as direct payment to individuals of $1,400 or $600 becoming to individuals. It amounts up to almost 19 billion, 18.95 billion from the stimulus plan that the federal government has just recently passed. Unfortunately, there's some of the rules and regulations have yet to be written, but we we are hopeful they don't really tie the hands of local government or state government in placing those funds where they're needed the most. A little bit about Tennessee, and I'm sure most of you, I know Kevin knows this backwards and forwards, but we regained our AAA credit rating, which we lost in 2001, 2002, around that period of time. And I remember it devastated Senator Henry, who was my mentor and teacher in the finance committee. I served as his vice chairman for a number of years. And we were able to get it back. And unfortunately, I wish Senator Henry had been around to see that. But people like John Bragg and Senator Henry and Leonard Donovan really built a foundation from which we can operate, and it serves us well. And I know when I handed the chairmanship of finance off to Bo Watson, he'll do a great job, and he's one that will cherish that credit rating to make sure we maintain it. Also, the U.S. News had reported that Tennessee was the third highest in fiscal stability, and Tennessee ranked 48th in the overall tax burden to individuals. Our pension fund is considered fully funded, and we do have some states that are in the 40% funding range because they failed to make their annual required contribution, the ARC. We also have a fully funded rainy day fund. I'd still like to see a little bit more money in the rainy day fund. Right now, we could run for about 25 days or so without any revenue, and the standard's about 30 days. And I'd like to see that increased a little bit. The state took on no new debt the last few years. And if you look at our overall indebtedness, we're at the very bottom of states that borrow money. And we have a structurally balanced budget. What got us into trouble in 2001 was that we actually raised the revenue estimates to meet the expenditures, which is a terrible thing to do. And that's what caught us. And we had to raise taxes the next year. And we also lost our credit rating. We got docked from the 3 AAAs by the 3 credit rating agencies. And overall, the budget approves an additional, or proposes an additional 341 million to improve education for students in grades K through 12. Also, there's additional funding for higher ed, and there's 120 million for instructional personnel, teachers. And we don't like to say that translates into a 4% raise for teachers, because most systems have more teachers than the BEP pays for. And that when they spread it out over all the teachers, which they can do and should do, that lowers the percentage. Also, with Governor Lee, I'm pleased to say that he has a strong commitment to job creation, and especially rural development. We see all the cranes in the big cities, but not so much rural construction as far as businesses. And I think Governor Lee has put an additional 200 million to expand the internet services, high-speed broadband to particularly to rural communities where it's not available. And there is some, there's like places in Knox County and Anderson County that you can't get cell service, And we're hoping to be able to close those gaps around the state. Also, the budget has 21 million for rural communities and distressed counties to receive direct support in small industrial site development and other types of business development and revitalizing Main Street in towns. And also there's some 95 million that's invested in fast track. That's what EC&D Commissioner Rolfe uses to entice businesses to come to Tennessee. And unfortunately, it's a bidding war out there. We've got a good environment. We've got a very stable state government fiscally, but you know, we have to compete with other areas, and that means money, either road construction to the site or job tax credits that we're able to give. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of y'all have, and certainly again appreciate very much getting to be with you, and I think my cohort, my partner in crime, Cameron Sexton, who's the Speaker of the House, will be over here shortly, and he's really done a great job. He came in at a very tough time and was able to take the leadership reins of the House, and really he's done some great things. And it's a pleasure working with him and also with Governor Lee. I enjoyed very much my service with Governor Haslam, but Governor Lee's just the same type person. He listens and he evaluates things and then acts from there.
Well, what a great summary in that. I see why they call you the guru of finance and budget.
Well,
you've spouted off some really interesting information, but we do have some questions if you have a minute. And we have already had Speaker Sexton.
Oh, okay. And I handed off the reins of finance guru to Senator Bo Watson. And, he's doing a great job. I think you'll enjoy working with him.
Well, cities are very appreciative of the funds that were shared with local governments in the form of those local government grants. And I know Governor Lee has again proposed those grants. Do you support the governor's proposal, and do you anticipate any resistance? Or are you aware of any modifications that might be made to those proposals as it is considered by the General Assembly?
Well, I do support what the governor's proposed in the budget, and the legislature will probably make some changes, but not really it changes to any significant degree. And as far as resistance, there's always a few things that pop up that catch people's eye that, you know, this shouldn't, this spending item shouldn't be done, or we need this much more than, and it was left out of the budget, those type of things. But we've, over the last few years, we've had a great relationship with the House and the governor's office in kind of pulling that budget together. And what we do on the Senate side, and I think the House does something similar, but like we'll send the different budgets to the different committees that have oversight over them, and they make recommendations to finance, and then finance takes their recommendations. The governor will have additional spending in all probability, the way things are going right now. And we kind of mesh those together and come to an agreement. All three of us do have to agree. The governor does have line item veto. Of course, the House and Senate can override it with a majority. But there's always things that people are resistant about, and it'd be hard to name any one particular item, I think.
We haven't started budgeting what we haven't gotten yet, so
But we'll
that's the
see.
good news. The state did receive federal funds under the Trump administration to assist in management and recovery of the pandemic. And how much of those funds were put to use, and in what ways were they utilized, and what benefits have been derived from the availability of those funds?
Well, we've seen our revenues rise, and it's actually something. I guess the first month it just fell off terribly when we had to close down everything, and then after that we've seen a significant rise in revenues. Right now we're probably about 1.3 billion over projections, and what we do normally is sort of under project things, and that way it's a lot easier to deal with a surplus the next year than it is to deal with a deficit. And I think the money that's come through the Trump administration has been essential in helping businesses and also in nonprofit agencies. They've taken a real big hit, and they provide a lot of services to your communities and my community. And I think it's most of the money is already out there, and it's been very helpful. Also, we're seeing a lot of people requesting vaccines, and we've had a good distribution, with the exception of a couple of areas in which vaccines were lost. Hundreds of, more than hundreds, but a lot of vaccines were unfortunately lost in some areas.
You've really touched on a lot of important points about the budgeting process and our reserves and so on. The last question I think I would have would be, when do you think we can safely declare that the Tennessee economy is fully recovered from the effects of the pandemic?
I wish I could come up with a good answer for that. The spending that we've seen has been in things, the increase has been in things like housing construction, building materials, certain retail sales that are related to construction and manufacturing process, automobile sales, boat sales. But then on the minus end, you see a lot of decrease in food and hotels and services like that. So the housing, boats, and cars, although it's classified as recurring revenue, it's not something that we can count on next year and the year after. So I think we have to be very careful. This year, I'd like to see more money going into the rainy day fund. I'd like to see that a lot of the expenditures that we're making with the new money is more one time. Things like improvements in the maintenance of buildings, and we've gotten a little bit behind in that, and things that don't recur in the budget, new programs and things like that. Of course, salary increases, we will do an equivalent 4% for state employees, and for the BEP teachers, it comes out to about a 4% increase. They'll get a one-time bump going back to January, and then they'll get the full amount in June. In July 1.
Lieutenant Governor, we certainly appreciate your being with us today, and Tennessee Municipal League staff and members of the Tennessee Municipal League look forward to working with you and serve as a resource for any questions you might have, and support as we move forward with the work of the General Assembly to make our state a great place to live, work, raise a family. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's really a partnership, and you're great partners, and I really appreciate the people that you have that help us and keep us advised of your positions on different things, like Anthony and Kevin and others. But thank you very much.